So good morning, everybody. Thank you, everyone in the office, for coming, and thank you for everybody joining online too. I do want to recognize both Rep. Wolf and Rep. Donahue, who are here in person. We have a few staff members. I'd also like to recognize Laura McGee, who's the chair of the RCAP Solutions board, who made it down here too. So, and I believe online I can see Senator Eldridge, Rep. Scarsdale, Rep. Higgins, Joe McKenna, Mike Kuchmarek, Meg Kilcoyne. Excuse me, the TV's way over there and I'm way over here. So if there's anybody else, I apologize, but we'll get back to you. So my name is Brian Scales. I'm the president and CEO of RCAP Solutions. And we have a bit of legislation that we'd like to talk about too, in addition to the housing. So the way that the ground rules are going to be, hopefully to get you going, is we're going to do lunch afterwards. So we're going to break this down into the housing sections. We're going to have some people talk. We'll be able to ask questions specifically. This is for your benefit to understand what we can do and what we can't do, and to help you understand how the process works. And again, we have a bit of legislation that's pending. We're going to talk about that, but I would like to welcome Senator Eldridge to have a few opening words about the legislation and about RCAP Solutions. Senator Eldridge?
Yes, thank you so much, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
Good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much to RCAP Solutions for this forum on water quality issues. Really appreciate, RCAP Solutions. RCAP serves a good part of my district, includes, of course, many Worcester County communities. Great to see so many of my fellow Worcester County colleagues here. And as hopefully you are aware, I've done a lot of work around water infrastructure for quite some time, going back to a Water Infrastructure Finance Commission well over 10 years ago. And it really recognized the need for obviously increased investments in water infrastructure. But it also highlighted some real gaps in rural communities, and don't have to tell anyone here how many rural communities there are in Worcester County. And so most recently, I've partnered with RCAP Solutions and the Health Foundation of Central Mass and Amy Shea, who just does such tremendous work on a bill, which I believe I'll be talking in more detail about later, but an act promoting drinking water quality for all that would create for the first time state regulation through DEP for private wells. Many private wells, often by homeowners, especially those who are moderate income, are not inspecting those wells when the wells are being dug and are found to have many contaminants. And of course, the big focus this session is this past couple of years is PFAS. So it would not only regulate private wells for any contaminants, just like a public water supply, but it would also provide funding from a currently existing program under DEP to provide grants and loans to low-income homeowners who, quite honestly, often can't afford to clean up the contaminants in their private well. So it's a big initiative. This is something that we began discussing last session, and I've partnered with Representative Dan Cena and Representative Smitty Pignatelli, because of course Western Mass has the same challenges in so many rural communities. So really glad that we can have this lunch. I wish I was there to enjoy the lunch with you. I'm here at the State House, but looking forward to the discussion and presenting in more detail later the bill. But really appreciate RCAP Solutions, and I just think sometimes a lot of the public does not realize that RCAP Solutions does so much work on water infrastructure, water safety issues. I know when I represented Lunenburg, it was very helpful with some of the mobile home parks in the district. They've been very helpful with Shirley and some mobile home parks there, and sort of more often than not rural water issues for residents. So thanks so much, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Senator. Now we have the clicker working. Now you can see the housekeeping. There are some bathrooms right outside this door. You need to avail yourself. We will have lunch right after. There is a lot of information We're going to share these slides with you all if you would like them, so that you have them. We also have the pamphlets in the folders in front of you for some takeaway information. These talented people will get up and speak about their different programs. These are all members of the leadership team here, both directors and co-directors. And we're going to get right into it. There's the speakers. So I'm going to introduce first Josh Fredarian, who's our Chief Housing Officer here. I know a lot of the folks who are both online and here in person over the past X number of years have had any constituent issues or needed to contact RCAP. I was the point of person for that. I certainly am willing to answer or be available, but we'd like everything to go through Josh. His contact information will be there. The reason for that is because we do have so many varied programs. We like to know and be able to track. It's Josh's job to be able to get back to all of you and in a timely manner, just like hopefully you found with me over the past 10, 15, whatever the heck it's been. It's been a while. So Josh, I'm going to kick it off to you, and he will introduce you to the rest of the team.
Can everybody hear me okay? I'm a little bit under the weather. I apologize in advance, but so okay. Everybody online, can you hear me okay? All right, we have one nod at least, and we'll take that as a good message. So thank you, Brian, and frankly, thank you everybody for being here. This is fantastic to finally get this off the ground running. Thank everybody who's been here virtually. I in a past life worked for the legislature in Massachusetts for our state representative, Jennifer Benson, who resigned to take another position. And so in that life, excuse me, I was able to interact with Brian and RCAP and learn so much about their programs and what they did for the community. And now I'm happy to sort of carry along that mission with, like Brian said, that these talented group of folks who are not here for any other reason but to serve the community in ways that you know, we find to be the most you know, reliable and successful. So we do a lot of different things. And I know that most of you are from this region, right? But we don't just cover this region. For the housing suite of services, we do cover Worcester County with some very little exception. But for our community and environmental resources team, we cover all of New England, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. You know, I'm sure we can speak about it a little bit later, but RCAP Solutions is part of a national RCAP network of different organizations across the country. RCAP Solutions is what's considered the Northeast and Caribbean RCAP. And so we're happy to do a lot of the community environmental resources work that Senator Eldridge and Brian were speaking about. For Worcester County, we administer what's called the Housing and Consumer Education Program, which members of our staff will talk about in a minute. We also administer most of our housing programs in this region, with the exception of the RAFT program in the city of Worcester. So recently, with new regulations or policy changes that were promulgated by DHCD, RCAP Solutions and CMHA, the Central Mass Housing Alliance, split Worcester County. So CMHA is the RAFT administrator for the city of Worcester. RCAP Solutions administers RAFT for the balance of Worcester County. So every other town in Worcester County falls under RCAP Solutions. CMHA administers the city of Worcester. So with the housing portion, like I mentioned, we have the HCEC team, we have the RAFT team who work well together, and our members of the staff will be able to expand upon those programs. We also administer you know, voucher programs on behalf of the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. And so we do a lot of work, like I mentioned, with the community environmental resources work, with the water and wastewater technical assistance. We do education and training through HCEC and their team. And then we do a lot of the economic development work. Madison, who we'll talk to later, runs what I believe is still called the Open for Business program. It changed in my mind, but I don't think it actually changed in person. We also manage a suite of properties. They're HUD 202 properties, if that means anything to anyone. They're affordable public housing, and we're also the manager for one property in Boylston. And so I want to use this opportunity to bring up Levette Chisholm, who is our Director of Financial Services and Housing Counseling. Flip it whatever way you want, housing counseling, financial services, or financial services and housing counseling, it doesn't really matter. So she'll be able to give you an introduction to our more robust housing programs.
Good morning, everybody, and as Josh and Brian both said, thank you all for coming. So basically, in looking at the overview under the suite of services, all under housing counseling and financial services, we're going to talk about 3 today. Quick overviews on a higher level. It's going to be the ACEC program, and Lindsay Richmond is going to give you some information on that. And she's the deputy director and she runs that program. We're going to talk about the RAFT program and give you guys some ins and outs of what we can do, because what we get from your offices are a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of things come our way. We're happy to help, but there is a limit what we can help with, and there's a timeline associated with that. And we want to make sure that you're aware of what those are. And by providing the slideshow and our team coming up to give you those discussions, that's going to be the piece. So Jahaira Gonzalez is going to discuss RAP with you, and I'll come back up and give you a brief overview of the home modification loan program, which is for our homeowners. All right, Lindsay Richmond.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. So like Levette said, I oversee the Housing Consumer Education Center. Our main area is the greater Worcester County, so all of Worcester County, a few outlying towns around the edges. And we have an entire suite of services, everything from our HUD approved and SHAPR approved. So we have a housing counseling program, including the first time home buyers program, as well as foreclosure prevention. And then we do a lot of services with the renters, whether it is housing search, connecting tenants and landlords together, helping them through the application process for subsidized housing or income-based housing. I will say that the inventory is very low and the demand is very high. So we do have, a little bit of a waiting list for our housing search services. And then we also do things like financial capabilities workshops where we talk to clients and teach them how to budget, how to use their credit wisely, and just sustain their living. And then we do a lot of referrals to different agencies like mediation, legal aid. Of course, we are not lawyers, so we don't provide any legal advice, but when a client poses an issue or a situation, we will refer them to the appropriate agencies, as well as community resources like food stamps, furniture banks, clothing banks, and things like that. These are 2 examples of some of the housing search tools that we give out and that we recommend to people. As we do have a waiting list, we don't want our waiting list to hinder people getting into new housing. So things like affordablehousing.com, the Housing Navigator, great resources to locate and find out more on the application process for subsidized and income-based or income-restricted housing. The first time home buyer program that I mentioned, financial empowerment and credit counseling. So in addition to the financial capabilities workshop, we do work also one-on-one with clients to fix their credit or begin building credit, as well as creating a sustainable spending plan to utilize their resources to the best of their ability. And of course, we do also help out landlords. We do a lot of mediation referrals, as well as landlord training for new homeowners that are interested in buying multifamily properties. A lot of, the do's and the don'ts, how to prevent housing discrimination and get a tenant that is going to have a successful relationship with the landlord. Anyone have any questions? I'm going to pass it on to Jahaira Gonzalez, who is the Deputy Director of the RAFT program.
Good morning, everyone. Like Lindsay said, my name is Jahaira Gonzalez. I'm the Deputy Director of Financial Services, also known as the RAFT program here at RCAP Solutions. I wanted to give you guys a bit of an overview of what the RAF program consists and what to expect from our team when it comes to processing the application, as well as what documentation is needed and what the process timeline is when the client does apply online. Let's see. So the financial assistance program at the moment is assisting clients who are eligible for the RAF program in up to a total amount of $10,000 for FY23, which may change during FY24. The clients are able to go to the portal and apply for the program if they don't have the services to do so. The HCEC department is able to assist with the application assistance program. The clients may need to bring in documentation in person, but if they don't, they could actually provide that to the HCEC department, and those documentations can be uploaded for the client into the portal. The documentation will consist of, as you can see, eviction documentation, 14-day notice, 30-day notice, notice to quit. So if the utility shut-off notice is not provided to us, we wouldn't be able to assist. But what I'm trying to say is that there is assistance through the LEAP program in their community, and if they don't have the open doors for that, they could come through RCAP Solutions to receive assistance. We also assist with families who are either couch surfing, doubled up, and are not part of a lease in that household. The clients are able to put in for that, as well as immediate assistance for us to expedite is a fire victim, DV victim, or someone who's chronically homeless living in their vehicle. We do expedite those applications. Usually the expedite emails come through Lindsay. Lindsay will provide me with that information, and then we would expedite the application for the client. The timeline between from when the client does apply in the portal and when the payment is provided to the client is between 4 to 6 weeks is what the time frame is to receive the assistance. Financial assistance can be used for rent arrears. If the client is able to receive a stipend, which is the following month, we are able to provide that if the client has the funding available. We do security deposits, first, last, furniture, utilities, and movers as well if the client needs that. So how to apply for financial assistance? They could go through our website or directly through mass.gov to apply for the program. Landlords will need to do the same application as the client, not just because the client applied for the assistance doesn't mean that we're gonna receive the application and process it. The landlord is responsible and will receive an email from the portal to do their application part. Once that is received, the application will be matched, and that is when we'll able to have one of our staff members work the application. If there's any questions in regards to how to apply, how can we help the landlord, or how can we match the applications, our HCEC department is usually the one who assists with that. There is the email and the phone number. Again, Lindsay would be the one that would send me an email and say, hey, Jahira, I just matched these 2 applications. Can you please have a staff member work on it if it's an expedited application, and then I will move forward with the process.
Quick question.
Sure.
What if the landlord doesn't want to complete it?
Not able to complete it or not willing to comply with completing?
Either one.
We wouldn't be able to assist the client. The landlord has to comply in order for us to assist, unfortunately. There was one point that we were able to do direct pay through the ERAP program. We can no longer do that. We're under RAF guidelines, and that is what they're requested by us. Yes.
So in the beginning, you said that like CMHA does Worcester and you do the other towns. What happens if someone from Worcester applies here? What happens to their application?
Their application will go well, if the client is applying for the Worcester area, we could assist with the application process, but then the portal will know that this application lives in Worcester, so that application will be directed to CMHA for processing.
Do you have a lot of trouble with landlords who don't want to complete
We haven't run into those this time of year, no. Everyone wants to get paid, everyone has, bills that they need to, or they want to keep the tenant housed. So we haven't ran into any difficulties with someone not wanting to comply. And if that is the case, we could also assist the client with moving out of that property and looking for other resources or other venues to maybe lease up in a new apartment if that is the case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in regards to the completing of application, it's very important that all documentation is provided with the processing of the application. If any of those documentation are not provided, the system will timely time out the application and close out, and we have no control over that. So I just want to make that clear. If the documentation is not uploaded in a timely manner, the system will automatically time it out. In regards to the submission of the application, I gave you guys a time frame, which is 4 to 6 weeks. The system does want both applications to be matched in order to be worked by the staff. In regards to the documentation to be provided to the RAF specialist, the system will generate 21 days. So from the time that the client applied, the system will give either the landlord or the tenant 21 days to provide those documents to either the portal, or they could also provide it directly to the RAF specialist who they're typically working with.
Question?
Oh, sorry.
If they're timed out, is the person notified that they?
Yes, ma'am, the system generates an email and sends out to both parties. So both parties are aware that that application has been timed out and they need to reapply. It does give instructions as well as what to do. So here are more of the specified documentation that is needed for both parties to generate an application, which is usually proof of ID. The landlord side would be proof of ownership, W-9 form, either a deed or any other documentation that has to do with ownership. The system has generated for the application not to be processed unless an ID from the owner or a business card from the LLC or the property manager who's actually applying for the landlord themselves. So in regards to subsidy clients, just because they received a 14 or 30-day notice to quit is not considered the only documentation that's needed for the application process. Good cause is needed for subsidized clients. The reason for that is they are in a subsidized unit, so they should be able to comply with paying their monthly rent, but good cause will show us that there was more of a eligible housing crisis or a decrease or increase in their income, and provided documentation would be suffice for us to review the application and more like see what that crisis was in order for us to approve that application. This is more of the map of where we service and what towns at the moment we are processing RAF applications for. Like Josh mentioned earlier, CMHA is the agency who's responsible for processing Worcester applications, though clients can come to the HCEC department for application assistance. Any questions?
On the crisis part of it, if you go back to the third slide.
Sure, let's see if I know how to maneuver this. Third slide?
There.
Yes.
Proof of housing crisis, so you have to have an eviction notice in order to apply for RCAP, or?
No. No. So when it comes to proof of housing crisis is an eligible housing crisis, depending on what the family is going through as a, and I'll give an example. For example, if the family is doubled up, proof of housing crisis would be a letter from the family that they are currently staying with that they cannot be at that unit. When it comes to arrears or eviction, the program will work with the landlord if they have either given proof of the documentation to the client for the 14-day notice to quit or 30-day notice to quit. It's no longer an eviction through the court summary process in order to be eligible for the program.
So if the person is income eligible for the RCAP voucher right now, can they apply and receive, or there's a wait that they have to wait to receive that voucher?
So it is not a voucher. I want to just clear that at the moment. It is financial assistance for the for what they're occurring right now. So it is a lump sum of funding.
Every month.
It is not
It's
every
only
month.
for,
It's only to cure their housing crisis at the moment.
okay.
And they are able to
How
apply
long
right
do
away.
benefits go up to, like a year, 6 months?
So in regards to arrears, it's whatever they're in arrears at the moment. And if they're eligible, they're able to receive an additional month of rent moving forward.
As long as they don't exceed the $10,000.
Yes.
I see. And that's 10,000 within the whole year?
Within the entire
Yes.
year, within the rotating year,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I know the ERAP program was a little bit different and they were receiving funding through the whole year, and that's no longer available. So there is a cap, which is $10,000. Any other questions in regards to the program?
And welcome to Rep Sina.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And I see Rep Murray's on the virtual as well, and I didn't recognize him.
Anyone who's over income, there is absolutely nothing we could do about that in regards to processing an application. We are able to give other resources or find other programs that their eligibility is not provided through the income-based source. So I just want to throw that out there. I just want to make sure that everyone will receive assistance in regards to either resources or funding, but not everyone is eligible for the program.
And if you have any constituents with any kind of special circumstances, maybe not access to a computer to fill out the online application, just shoot an email to Josh and we'll have somebody contact that constituent and be able to work with them.
Anything else? So I believe I will pass it on to Josh, and then.
Yeah.
This will be very brief. So the home modification loan program is for homeowners who have individuals who reside in their home who have impairments. So this loan program offers between $1,000 to $10,000 for modification or adaptations to the home in order for the individual that's residing there to function on a daily basis and basically for a better quality of life. That's the goal of this program. It is a 0% interest loan for homeowners, up to $50,000 for property owners, up to $3,000 for mobile homeowners, and landlords can also benefit, but their loans would be at 3% for units, if they have units under 10. So up to 10, they would be able to do this for their tenants, but they do have to repay the loan with the at 3%. There are no monthly income, no monthly payments, and it's basically the loan is due for repayment at the time that the home changes hands, is sold, or the next 50 years. That's basically what they put in place. Eligibility is income. The biggest part of this program is the need. It has to be documented need for that individual in order to qualify for this program. And the proposed modifications. So we get a lot of clients that come in that know about the program and they say, I need a new roof, I need a chimney. That's a homeowner's repair. It has to be a modification or adaptation in order to qualify for the home modification loan program. The income guidelines for this are amazing, because as you can see, for a family of $196,000 for that homeowner to be able to be qualified for this program. Go over into the sliders. Application is a simple process. You can go through and put in a request through the email. And our residential loan fund manager is there to assist through the entire process. The best thing about this is the homeowners choose their own contractor. The program does not do that. Basically, RCAP acts as the bank for these funds. We release funding for the project as it's done. The homeowners are not paid directly with these funds. It's paid to the contractor for the work that has been provided. In special cases, some homeowners will take out a levy or a loan to get the modifications done. They provide proof of that, and then we're able to basically repay them so that they can then take care of that financial burden that they've taken on. And then when they sell the property or the property changes hands, they'll repay the loan and loan payment at that time. And it is only what they take the loan out for. So if they only use $30,000, they only pay back $30,000. So that's kind of the lump sum with Home Mod, just a quick overview. Any questions? Yes.
So if the person who is impaired is the homeowner, then that, they do not qualify?
They do. They do. It's the homeowner, it's individuals within the home, and a lot of the modifications are based on, as again, need. These needs could be sensory, they could be mobility impairments, they could be cognitive impairments. And whether that be the homeowner or someone within the homeowner, it could be shared living. There are people now that are doing shared living and bringing people to live within their homes to care for them, and they need stair lifts. They need ramps put in. They need bathrooms. You don't realize that when you buy, we're all aging. We buy these big, beautiful homes with the staircase that goes on forever. At some point, you might not be able to get up those stairs. Who does not want to go to be able to use the top floor in their home? This program gives them the ability to do that if they fall into the income guidelines, because they can have a stair lift installed, and now they can access their home, their own, their upstairs. Same thing with bathrooms. That is the biggest part of this program as well. Is you have a tub, you can no longer get in and out of the tub, whether it be mobility or, and mobility could be arthritis. It could be, it's whatever that is, PTSD. It depends on what that individual needs and what can we do to modify the home so that individual can live there.
Can you just review the repayment?
Sure.
Schedule?
Sure.
And what if the person who is disabled dies? Does that impact it?
So the repayment is a one-time payment when the property changes hands or when the property is sold. Just that one-time payment, interest-free, so whatever they took that loan out for. As far as if the individual that is residing, say it's not the homeowner, and it's a family member or the shared living individual that's there, if they pass away, it still boils down to the property changing hand, not the individual that we did the repairs for, the modifications for.
And you mentioned that you thought the income limits were amazing. Do you think they're too high? Do you think the money could be better used elsewhere?
No, because at the end of the day, the majority of the individuals they're paying a mortgage. They are, the medical need that goes along with these individuals may be zapping their income. So the guidelines, the income guidelines are amazing. It gives those individuals who are on a different scale the ability to, I'm gonna go back to COVID for a second here. Nursing homes closing down. They've had to go and get their parents, bring their parents to live with them, and their homes are not equipped to handle the elderly. But because of their income guidelines, if we drop that income guidelines, their parents are now suffering within the home. That's not the goal, because financially, they're already in a financial hardship. Just because you make that amount of money, doesn't mean that you're still not in debt, that you still are not incurring costs. So you want to be able to have the stability to make these modifications and not have to worry about it being a financial burden or a monthly repayment.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna move this on to Josh.
So, firstly, I want to recognize Beth Walsh, who's here from Senator Cronin's office, who's stuck in. And of course, Representative Racina, who Brian recognized. Both have been great partners in our work. And so, I want to introduce Sally Nieves, who is the director of our rental assistance program. Before I do that, I want to clarify on a couple of things that we just talked about. One of the things that I think was a benefit of this event was not only having you all learn about what we do, but learn about what happens when you send us an email, give us a call. So when you pick up the phone or when you type out an email and you send it to us, or you send it to me, or you send it to Brian, what happens after that, right? We can explain the programs, and obviously a programmatic understanding is really helpful, but understanding the limits of what we can do, but more importantly, the benefits of what we can do for clients of yours, or clients of ours and constituents of yours, is really an important piece, I think. Because it's challenging to know when you call and you say, hey, we have this constituent who's having this issue, you may not know what happens after that. So I think that's what we're trying to address here. And Jahira had mentioned one of the changes with or possible change with the RAP program. And so when the governor put out her budget, there was a proposal in there, if you will, to change RAP from a maximum benefit limit of $10,000 to a maximum benefit limit of $7,000. $10,000 over 1 year, the 12-month rolling period is what it currently stands as. The proposal in the governor's budget was 24 months, right? So that's a proposed change. The House budget, I believe, departed from that slightly. The Senate budget obviously is they're working on it right now, or they will be working on it. And once it goes to conference, then we'll be able to see what actually is going to shake out. So that's what was proposed initially. We'll see what actually comes out of it. And so that's what Jahira was alluding to with FY24. So for our rental assistance programs, Sally Nieves, like I said, the director of our programs here, and we also have representation, Melissa. I'm gonna butcher your last name, and I apologize. Melissa Reyes, Maisonet. Close enough. I never say it out loud. You always type these things and you never say it out loud, and I can never pronounce it. Anyway, so we have representation. She's the deputy director who oversees our program representatives. And so Sally Nieves will come up and talk about our rental assistance.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So my name is Sally Nieves, and I am the director of the rental assistance program. My program right now, we are administering a little bit about 3,000 vouchers. We have different programs in those vouchers, which we're gonna open this. Okay, did they change my name? Yes. So what we have to offer, we offer a variety of vouchers. We offer the housing choice voucher programs. We offer the mass rental voucher programs, but we also have special vouchers like the batch vouchers. We have the DMH vouchers. We have COC vouchers. We have emergency housing vouchers. Those emergency housing vouchers, we actually received them last year. We received 100 of them, and all 100 of those emergency vouchers are already leased up. In order for a household to become eligible for the program, they have to be income eligible. But it's not just the income eligibility. They either have to be disabled or elderly in order to qualify for the program. A single individual does not qualify for a voucher unless there's a disability. Just remember that. If there's no disability, they do not qualify for the voucher. What we do provide them with is a reasonable accommodations. If we can get a doctor to sign off, letting us know that this person has some sort of disability, then they will qualify just as long as they're income eligible. There's other special programs that we are actually also that are actually fall under our program, which let me go back to this one. I'm not sure, where did you put my there we go. We have the project-based Section 8 rental vouchers. Those are attached to the subsidies, to the units. They cannot move anywhere with those vouchers. So with those vouchers, the property selects the client. We do not select the client. They send us the client, we do the eligibility. We do not select the clients, okay? So at any time, you have somebody that's giving you a call, letting you know that they applied for this property and they're not receiving any phone calls. You're gonna contact us, but there's really not much we can do because we have to go by the property's waiting list. So everything is on a waiting list, especially the vouchers. We have the mass rental voucher programs, which is really good. I don't know if you guys have heard, but this program is actually taking off. In June, I want to say, we're going to be actually offering about 100 vouchers for that program under the CHAMP program. Many of you probably have heard about that program. which is excellent opportunities for clients who are actually at the 80% of the AMI. We also have the supporting vouchers for the BASH program, which is an awesome program. So we work very closely with the VA in assisting our homeless veterans and making sure that they get housed. And then, it went too fast. And then we have the mod rehab program. With this is for single individuals that have severe homelessness issues. They qualify to go into a mod rehab program, but we also have mod rehab programs for the elderly. And these are either studios or one-bedroom units, and they have resources attached to these. This is my favorite part here. Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a program that we offer. It's a 5-year program and it helps the participants achieve their economic stability. Then we have the FSS Savings Match Program for higher income earners interested in purchasing a home. We haven't had anybody just yet, but this program just took off. But we're working very hard with the clients and trying to achieve what they're looking for. Then we also have the Snowmass Housing Mobility Program, which is housing choice. It helps families with school-age children making moves to communities with better high-quality schools. It's about the high-quality schools, better place to live. And then the Mass Higher Career Paths Assessment Program. It just helps the clients to better employment. Whatever assistance they're looking for, they will meet with a Mass Higher representative and they'll assist them with whatever they're in need. Let me go back one. Okay, we went through all of those. Any questions?
I noticed that in my district, there's 2 towns that is not on this map, which is Acton and Boxborough. How can we make this program statewide? I know, what is it gonna take for us to?
So Acton and Boxborough, they're actually run by SMART.
I see.
Yes, so every agency, we were assigned.
So the whole state is served by some of these programs, but through different entities?
So we have 9 sister agencies.
I see.
In our 9 sister agencies, we cover the state of Massachusetts. So it depends what area we're managing. So, yes.
So going back to the Section 8 voucher, I've heard from a number of constituents that have vouchers through different agencies. There's a lot of challenges relating to, the value of the voucher keeps fluctuating. What does your organization provide to kind of help, get something that's in the target or help identify some of those units that might be available that meet the qualifications?
So what happens with that, it doesn't have to do with what the voucher pays. It has to do with the landlord is requesting and what we're able to offer. So we do rent reasonable in all the areas. Landlord, provides me with the information on the unit. I pull out that information into gosection8.com and they're gonna give me comparables in 5-mile radius. And it'll let me know what those areas are paying. If a landlord is asking for $2,000, but in those areas, the most an apartment is paying is $1,500, that's the most I can offer. So a lot of landlords will turn down the client, but it doesn't have anything to do with the voucher. It has to do with what those properties in those areas, what they're paying for rent.
Got it. So, but I guess my question is, so then if someone keeps running into that problem, because I know they're time limited with the voucher, so what can be done?
Okay, so with the time limits on the vouchers, so when we select people, we give them 60 days on their vouchers. They can ask for an extension, so that'll give them 90 days. And then if there's a disability, they weren't able to get out there, as long as they request a reasonable accommodation, we can provide them for another 30 days, for a total of 120 days. But it's at our discretion. If I have a family that I know they're really struggling to find a unit, especially if they have credit issues, because that's one of the things that we're seeing a lot, I will work with that family so that I can get them housed. So I will go over the 120 days. So in the last year, since April of last year and April of this year, I have selected 950 families from our waiting list. Our waiting list right now is up to a 10-year wait, unfortunately. So
For
6 vouchers,
Section 8 vouchers, 10 years.
10 years. So person applying today, 23, till 33, they won't see a voucher.
Even if they're like seniors and disabled, they're.
You still have to go through the waiting list. So you can give me a call and say, I have somebody here, and they said that they applied 3 years ago. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for that person. I can provide them with resources. I can send them, provide them with all the
The
resources that I
resources
have.
would be perhaps an MRVP voucher.
We can send them to have them sign up for the MRVP, which is through the portal, the CHAM portal. But we can also provide them with the subsidized properties, information on subsidized properties, that they can go to and they can apply. And we have a lot of those. We actually have a lot of projects that we're working on. And actually I have openings in those projects. And that's where I send them.
They would just have to relocate.
And yeah, but most of my projects are here in the Worcester area.
Can you give us some examples of some of the properties that you have that are project-based vouchers?
Yes. So we have, Jesus Lord, Joshua, help me out here. So we have so many of them.
Yeah, there's a few down by, excuse me, by Polo Park. There's one coming online, hopefully they just started building, which I actually saw recently an article in Worcester Business Journal. Regardless, 153 Green Street.
Green Street, that's exciting.
There is the 92 Grand Street property in Worcester. There is quite a few up in the Fitchburg and Leominster
Have you
area.
guys heard of the courthouse?
Worcester Courthouse Lofts.
Worcester Courthouse, yeah, those are brand new.
Would that go as like a lottery for people who are applying? Do we have a lottery?
Those are actually, right now, they're full because those came on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But all you do, you apply and, they have their own waiting list.
So you don't actually own those properties, because I know 92 Grand, I actually live across the street from there, because that's the main South Season, so it's, if
Correct.
someone comes in, you would be directing someone?
So what happens is, they apply with them.
Yeah.
They send them to us and we do the eligibility process. So if they're eligible, we'll give them a date of when they can move into the unit.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, so we manage the vouchers for the projects.
Yeah.
And we basically pay the housing assistance payments for the clients who live there. But the difference, as Ali was explaining before, is the fact that those vouchers stay with the property opposed to being the mobile vouchers where that client, if they leave, they'll keep that voucher and move to another unit.
But one of the good things with the project-based vouchers is that after 2 years, they can opt out. They can request a mobile voucher. Now, it doesn't mean that they're gonna get a mobile voucher right then and there. What it means is that they're gonna go into a shorter list. So right now in my opt-out list, I think I have about 28 people. So the next time that I do another selection, those people, 5 out of those 28 will be selected from that list.
Does that mean they then get almost like a Section 8 voucher?
Yes, once they opt out, they get their Section 8 voucher.
Well, that's good information to know.
Any other questions?
And I'm not sure if this is the area to ask the question, or if I could get this offline, but for families who need emergency assistance and are going through DHCD, can you talk a little bit about that application process?
Well, what type of program through the DHCD? It all depends.
Like getting into a temporary hotel, somebody.
Okay, so that's out of that's not something that I do. I don't know if any of you ladies do any of that with the,
So, if a family comes through, or even a pregnant individual, needs emergency assistance, they'll call up DHCD. They will meet with their local EA, which is Emergency Assistance Homeless Coordinator. From that point, they will run through eligibility. They'll need birth certificates, socials, a proof of crisis, and then pending availability in the family shelters, they will be placed into a shelter. And I know generally they try to keep people close to where they became homeless from, but that's not always the case, pending where the beds are available. I do know that they have to have all of their documents, their, like I said, proof of crisis, birth certificates, social security cards and numbers, for every member of the family before they can be placed into an emergency shelter. And then at that point, they will go through eligibility for home base, which is another program that can help people for 24 months.
So migrant families, I understand, are eligible. How does that work? If they won't have birth certificates and social security numbers?
So it's a slightly different process. They'll still need some sort of proof. I've seen people that use like their children's pediatrician records, but I unfortunately don't work for DHCD, so I cannot speak to exactly what they'll need, but I know that they do not have to be a legal citizen or have, you know, their papers or anything like that to get into a family shelter.
Thank you.
And I wanna add to that, because for the mass voucher program, they don't have to be legal. They as long as a person in the household has a social security number, be a kid, doesn't matter who it is, as long as one person has it, they qualify. And they can get full assistance. So it's not prorated, it's full assistance.
So as I said before, we also have the pending legislation on the private wells. So we're pivoting now to, and again, we'll make these slides available so you can have all of that information on there. We briefly have this about our housing properties that are mostly in and around Worcester. We do have one in Worcester. We have two properties in Townsend, Groton, Bolton, and other places, and the information is in your packet too. Most of those are low-income senior housing projects. That's what the HUD 202s are. And I am going to, there's Josh's information. So the Coalition for Safe Drinking Water, I want to introduce Jenna Day, who's our director, Jim Starbird, who's our state lead for Mass, Rhode Island, and Connecticut.
Yep.
And then Madison Wellman, who's the coalition coordinator.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for being here. And thank you to Rep. Sina and Rep. Eldridge. They were members of our leadership committee with the Health Foundation funding. So we started out as a private well program to protect public health. We have EPA funding, USDA, and Health and Human Services that are supportive of our drinking water and wastewater work. So we leveraged our EPA private well funding with the Health Foundation of Central Mass, and thought we were just going to be doing well testing and well assessments in the north central region for them. And what we found out is that there were a lot of other issues going on. Boards of health, we have 351 towns in Massachusetts, 351 local boards of health. We found out that Mass DP has a statewide regulation for local boards of health to implement if they wish, and protect private well owners at their homes. But very few of the communities across Massachusetts had implemented that. So we wanted to, with our EPA private well funding, we were able to maybe do 5, 10, 15 well assessments and tests a year in Massachusetts. So with this funding, with the Health Foundation, we were able to do 500 tests across the state of Massachusetts and get some really good data on what was happening for the water quality for those households. Let's see, Jim met with the local boards of health in each town where we were working, and there's a big education process. If they didn't know about the regulations that Mass DEP had set out there for them to take on, they met and talked about that, and then they met and talked about the results that happened with the well testing in their town. So in all this data gathering, and with Rep. Eldridge and Rep. Sina's help, we decided last year to introduce legislation. It didn't make it all the way through, so we are back again at the table this year with legislation to enact statewide regulations and protect the health of private well owners. Jim?
Hey, Joe. Afternoon, everyone. So I'm just gonna go into the study we did for and I should say, mention it was funded by the Health Foundation of Central Massachusetts. So, like Jenna mentioned, it was done between 2020 and 2022. And, first 2 years was just on, North Central Massachusetts. And the third year we do it, statewide, so outside Worcester County. So a total of 502 samples. We tested for all the health-based, contaminants that Mass DEP recommends, other than VOCs and PFAS. Reason being, VOCs with cost, and PFAS, Mass DEP did their own testing. So we felt that we didn't need to get involved in that. And so that's kind of what we the target towns right there. Like you can see in 2022, we're everywhere from Franklin County all the way out to Wellfleet. And these are what we tested for, like I mentioned, in health-based contaminants. We did some secondary stuff, pH stuff, but this is the stuff that, ingestion over long term or even sometimes short term would, give you serious health effects or maybe even kill you. So this is what we really looked for the contaminants. As you can see, they all have different levels and different things they give you if you drink it long term. Biggest short-term stuff is the E. coli and the total coliform results. That's something that'll get you with a very short-term. The rest of the other stuff is more of a chronic, long-term consumption causes issues. So what do we got for results? So what we found through the 502 tests, 32% of all the wells we tested had one or more health-based issue. And when we broke it down by the contaminants themselves, total coliform, not unexpectedly, was the #1 issue we found, with 95 of the 502 samples, or 19% having a total coliform issue. Second, again, not to be unexpected, radon's a big issue in Massachusetts. Radon, with 33 of the 502 tests coming up above the radon standard, or 7% of all the samples. And then arsenic, again, another one that we expected to find, considering the area we were testing in. Again, we had 28 arsenic over exceedances, or 6%. I'm giving the percentages too for the next slide on the comparison point of it, give you more of an idea of the difference between private wells and public water. But also, we did find 14 manganese samples above the Massachusetts health-based standard, 11 wells high for uranium. We did have E. coli in 9 of the wells. All the total coliform wells were tested for E. coli. 9 of them came back with E. coli, showing that there's a pathogen in the well. And 3 nitrates, which also is an acute health issue. They could give blue baby syndrome and have health effects quickly at the consumption of water. So, but the 32% and the other percent is something to keep in mind. Because the next slide here, we asked Mass DEP for the public water systems, community water systems, where people live, just like in a public well. And we found that during the same time period, their exceedance rate for public water systems in Massachusetts is about 4.5% at any given time. And we will find that 32% of the private wells we tested had an issue. So we find that the numbers show that we do have a public health issue with the private wells, and then definitely not being protected as much as the public water systems are. Over 7% high, 700 times higher, if you will. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to get about, and I'm going to turn it over to Madison to talk about the coalition. What are we going to do about all these bad results?
Exactly right. So thank you, Jenna and Jim. Jenna was able to tell you all about the origins of this project, how we came into doing this work, and Jim was able to explain to you all our study and the stark disparity between those on public water systems and those on private water systems. But now that we understand the scale and scope of this problem, what exactly do we do about it? To build a solution, RCAP Solutions and the Health Foundation of Central Massachusetts have teamed up to create what we're calling the Coalition for Safe Drinking Water. The coalition is a public assembly of local government officials such as boards of health, institutions of higher learning, hospital systems, in addition to private companies and private well homeowners. The goal of our coalition is to advance our bill. It's been introduced in both chambers of the legislature. It's called an Act Supporting Safe Drinking Water Quality for All. It was introduced in the Senate by our dear friend Jamie Eldridge, and in the House by Representatives Dan Cena, who's here with us today, and Smitty Pignatelli, who I believe could not join us today. So our bill seeks to empower DEP to set standards, minimum health-based standards for private water quality and testing in private residential wells in much the same way they can for septic systems under the Title V system in Massachusetts today. This bill will also expand the existing state revolving septic loan repair fund. It's a revolving loan fund managed by the state of Massachusetts to expand it to cover private wells in addition to septic systems. Okay, and there's our bill number, Senate number 482 and House number 902. So what does this bill do? Again, it empowers DEP to set standards for private water quality and testing. The bill, additionally, it's the first step in setting a statewide standard for these, so we don't have the current piecemeal system of over about 350 independent town boards of health trying to draw up their own regulations for private wells. It would likely be modeled under the Title V legislation. Mass DEP has already published model guidelines that they would like boards of health to adopt. Those are freely available on the DEP's website, and we would imagine that should this bill pass, the guidelines that they publish will be more or less the same as the ones that they already have published. And it would again expand the existing Senate or state revolving loan program for wells. Luckily, there's already a very large amount of money still in that program that has been unspent, so it would not require an additional infusion of cash to make this work. So what does this bill not do? First off, it does not place an undue burden on homeowners. It makes no specific requirements, and every effort will be made to make sure this program is as streamlined as possible for both homeowners and for the local governments and boards of health that will be responsible for administering these changes. This bill does not specify what the exact regulations will be. We're going to leave decisions as to what will be tested for and what will be considered an exceedance up to the experts at DEP. And that is about it. Now, how you all can help any individuals in the room, we'd love to have you join the Coalition for Safe Drinking Water. We're going to have more events about this bill to try to generate public support for getting it across the line as this spring turns into summer and into fall. The legislators in the room, we would love to have you co-sponsor the legislation. Obviously, many of you already have, but for the rest of you, we would love to make that happen, and I'd be happy to make myself available to answer any specific questions you may have and attend any meetings you would like in order to make that happen. So please feel free to let me know. And again, spread the word on social media. We would love to see this on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all over the place. Fantastic. And the final thing I wanted to share with everybody is our USDA-funded well repair program. This is through our sister agency in the Southeast United States, RCAP. They have applied for funding through USDA to provide loans of up to $15,000 at 1% interest to help homeowners who are income eligible to apply for funds to repair a well or septic system. And if your constituent has a problem with their well and their septic, they could get 2 loans of up to $15K each. So that's $30,000 at 1% interest. That's a very affordable loan for most individuals. So if anybody in your district already has a well problem, already is unsure of what to do, you can direct them to us and we can help them apply for very low cost financing to do anything from installing a filtration system to drilling a whole new well. Although most people just need a simple filtration system. And I think oh yeah, questions, anybody? No? Okay, fantastic. And there's my contact information and an old photograph of me. If anybody has any questions or any follow-up or would like me to come to a meeting to discuss the bill, please feel free to give me a call or an email there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass things off to our CEO, Brian.
Thanks, Ben.
Sure.
I just want to thank everybody, and if it's at all possible, before we have lunch, Adam desperately wants to take a group photo that we'll do right outside by the flags. I would appreciate it if you could do that. Again, we're going to follow up with the slides for everybody so that you have all of this information. And again, if there are any follow-up questions via the private well, Madison's contact information will be there. Josh and I, you can reach out at any time. Don't guarantee we can solve everything, but we will listen. We will try to help and be responsive. I've told all of these folks here that, especially with staff, and there are a lot of staff here online and in the office here, that you guys are the ones that pick up the phone and have to deal with constituent issues, and we just want to be a resource for you. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be directly what you heard about today, because we might know somebody who knows something who can help out. So feel free to reach out at any time. Again, thank you all who are virtually attending, it's greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up.